right, y'all, we're back at it again. Um, this time I don't have my headphones on. Let's check the queue. I don't know who this dude is calling me. It's always somebody that calls me out of the blue. I don't really like that. There's probably somebody from sales or whatever, you know. Anyway, anyway, I'll call them back. Let's just run through this real quick. So I wanted to do a story on when I was a Windows 17 lead. That was a very good turning point in my career. And I'm going to break down the resume exactly what I used to do during that time. But that was the last, so to say, Windows XP to Windows 7 migration. It was a pretty decent time in my life, so to say. Other than, towards the end of the project, my mom had passed. I talked about that in like 2014 and stuff like that. But that was a pretty good project. It was through Dell and through a company in, was it Plano, Texas, or somewhere in Texas? I'll kind of break that down too. I'll put some of, some little slides and stuff like that on where it was. And so I'll be kind of going back and forth between, I got some ideas that I wrote down. So on this project, actually, I think I got on this project because, remember, I was supposed to be doing that help desk / BA work at TCS. And I was there a couple months and the rates weren't the greatest. And then they got me in here for like 25. So I had already had the experience from working at different insurance companies like Travelers and Blue Cross and stuff like that. So it just seemed like a no-go. I heard about it. It was something I was looking to get into something else. I heard about it, and I had one little 10-15 minute conversation with the account manager at this recruiting agency. It was a company through Guide IT, and which was based in Texas. I talked to that dude for 10-15 minutes, and he pretty much hired me. So when I came on board, my job was basically just to do the deployment, image the computers, and then pretty much set them on their desk, laptops, desktops, stuff like that. That's all we were really supposed to be doing. We really didn't have to do really too much support. They were trying to figure out a way to get us into support, but Dell was like, no, these guys, the service level agreement is deployment, and that's it. So they had this BA Bob dude. He was he bullied his way into the project. I was working with a sysadmin. I was working with their local desktop, but I pretty much was supposed to run the project. Really, there was supposed to be a team lead there. Team lead didn't show up. There was a brother from Dallas, Texas that came in and trained me in. So it was real cool, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was super, super cool. The brother was he's a freedman, and he was solid. He was super solid. He said, man, let's get, we keep it tight. I have the spreadsheet where I work with the PMs and stuff like that. And eventually what happened was it was supposed to be me and like one other person. So they had some dude, when the brother trained me in, they got some dude off of H-1B visa, this dude from West Africa. This dude was a major immigrant. He came in, I think I was checking something on my phone while we were getting trained in. He's tapping me on the shoulder extra hard. You have to pay attention. And I'm just like, dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be the one leading the project. I'm good, So he keeps saying, so he pulls me to the side. He says, that's the problem with you Black Americans. You don't pay attention. I'm like, what? Nigga, you fresh off the bus? Whoa. I said, all right. And he just kept going on and on. Black Americans, this and that. And so, the brother that was training us in, he must have, I don't know where he got this from. Dude was like in his 40s too. We go to Wild Wings. This is my first time kind of going to Wild Wings and whatever. In Oakdale. And so that's how I kind of got into it. I first started going there, and that's how I got into being like the carrot dude, taking all the carrots. So we sit down with this dude, and he just goes into this long rant about Black Americans being lazy and all, just real. He felt real comfortable, and so the brother from Dallas had to sit him down and get him real straight. And he had to let him know, man, you're in this country because of the stuff that my ancestors worked for. He says, well, what about the Bloods and the Crips and all of the gangs in Chicago and LA? And he was just going on and on and on about this kind of stuff. And he says, don't you have tribal wars back home? Don't y'all be chopping each other with machetes and all kind of stuff? Like he said, yeah, but that's different. That's different. So we had like you know, the Dallas dude was trying to pan Africanize this nigga. Like he was like, look, dude, like I don't know where you getting all this stuff from, but if you look at the history, the last 300-400 years, what we built, oh, well, that was a long time ago, you know. And so basically, he had to kind of tell him the same thing that's going on in the motherland is the same thing that's going on here. But y'all got 1,000 different tribal wars you can't get along with. So, you know, he's basically, we're going back historically and then stuff like that. He said, oh, I understand, but, you know, I still think you guys are lazy. And, you know, and he's going. So the brother's like, man, this dude. So eventually we came to somewhat kind of understanding or whatever, because I don't know where he got this brainwashing from. But we knew that he had some anti-Black American, you know, stuff going on or whatever the case may be, and we was the one that was training him and helping him. He was messing stuff up. We was covering for him. He was overly bowing down and kissing to the white folks at the job and all this kind of stuff. And the ones that like the ones I work with locally, they didn't even like him. They were like, I mean, they didn't say the word, you know, Samboism or whatever. They were like, man, this pandering is overkill. You know what I'm saying? Like the white people were telling me, like, damn, this pandering is overkill. Like it's starting to get uncomfortable. I'm like, man, just give him. You know, the brother's like, man, just give him a shot. He's, oh, you know, he's still kind of saying little slick stuff or whatever, doing little stuff like that. And so, they started talking about getting rid of him, and I pulled him to the side. I said, brother, you got to stop this tap dancing, dude. You got to stop this tap dancing. They probably going to get rid of you or whatever. I know what I'm doing. I know more than you. So, you know, he was on that kind of time. And, you know, we tried to save him. You know, we did some straightening and we tried to save him, but he just kept going on. You know, he was just convinced. Oh, they won't get rid of me. They like people from where I'm from. See, that's the difference between me and you. And so, you know, he was really on that type of time. And I said, all right. White folks got rid of him. Something didn't come back with his paperwork. He hits me up with the whole, there's something you can do. You're a U.S. citizen. Like this, you my brother. You my brother. Now it's the you my brother going on. And I'm like, I can't do nothing. I don't work at the damn immigration office. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's something you can do. You know, you guys, when you guys want something done, you get it done. You get it done. And I'm like, there's nothing I can do, dude. There ain't nothing I could do, you know? And so I was kind of tired of his mouth anyway, but there wasn't really anything I could do. But now he probably felt that maybe I could kind of fight for him hard or something with the sponsorship or whatever. And I'm just like, man, there ain't nothing I could do, bro. So they got rid of him. So here I am deploying the desktops by myself. I had a good little program working. It was cool. I had a cool... It was as decent as they can. I won't say the guy's name, but they had this guy there. What he would do is he had his own managed service company. He hit me to that. So he was a sysadmin, and he would come on and do billable hours. So he was a white guy that kind of linked me up to the game. Conservative dude. Very, very right wing. Conservative dude. He hit me up on the game of the 1099 thing. He said, well, I don't work directly with Dell and AIG or whatever. I have my own company. And so he would remote in and he'd have his own managed service customers too. He was like a Linux guy. He was the one that got the gold image and he wasn't supposed to, but he did it anyway. He was the one that got the gold image where it needed to be. You see what I'm saying? And so he kind of threw me off one day because he jumps up and it was some Sambo he was playing for, some conservative, like one of them Whitlock kind of dudes or something like that. And so he was like, you know what this is? He said, know what people should have is self-accountability. So he shows me this black guy talking about self-accountability, but he was like one of those he was kind of like a Whitlock dude. He was kind of like one of them Whitlock dudes, or like them twins kind of dudes or whatever. You know, he was really on that kind of time. You know, ain't no racism, it's just self-accountability and all that kind of stuff or whatever. So, you know, I said whatever. So he didn't really get too deep into that, but you know, you could tell he was not one of those types for affirmative action, DEI, diversity and inclusion, and you know, and all that woke. Yeah, it's too woke. You know, he was that. But what he would do, man, is he showed me a couple contracts. He said, man, you see here, he said, I remote in here and I do my work while I'm here. So I'm a 1099 subcontractor. I get my bread here. So he's knocking them out the box for maybe 50 to 75 an hour. And then he also remotes into his little servers, and he has his own IT company. So maybe they knew about that, maybe they didn't, but he kind of ran the show and they needed him. So he helped build the image. Real arrogant, kind of arrogant dude. He looked kind of like an Italian guy or whatever, but you know, he didn't undermine me. He didn't undermine me, you know. If anything, he kind of, you know, made the project run a lot smoother because he didn't have to. So he made the image, the gold image, he made the Windows 7 image just work well. And eventually I became a depot for North America. Everything came through me. Point of the matter, when they got rid of the African dude, they didn't really know what to do in terms of getting people in or whatever. So they basically said, do you know somebody? I said, I could get a whole team up in here. So I called some of my people from Travelers. It's a white guy I knew, my other home, you know, pretty much people that my little Game of Thrones crew that I told you about when I was at Travelers. And I basically said, y'all want to make 25 an hour? The white guy, I tried to get him in. He couldn't pass the drug test. He was on some N-word shit. He couldn't pass the drug test. He just couldn't. And I told him, man, you know they're going to give you a drug test. So he up there trying to finagle or whatever like that. They was going to hire him. They gave him an offer. And this nigga couldn't pass the drug test. So I called my other guy. Got him up in there. They hired him. He ended up getting an offer for some position in Eden Prairie to do like SCCM. He was like, man, I don't know if I should go or whatever the case may be. But what ended up happening with this project, when I got done with a lot of the project and moving it around and getting all the stuff deployed, I tried to go back to Blue Cross because they had a 365 project. Let me tell you what happened real quick, because I'm just going to keep it 100. They did me real dirty. They put me on the desktop team, and I got, they hooked me up with a real BA Bob. Like, he wasn't really trying to train. He said, you better hurry up, pay attention. I'm going to show you this one time. Because I only went over there just a couple of days. I had left this position because I got it in a good project. Because I had one of my other guys from Travelers over there, and I kind of handed the project to him. He was having a little trouble, but I went over there for 3 days. My second day, they were showing their ass so much over there because I took that position because I'm a skill set dude. I like to, if I go somewhere, I'm trying to go for a skill set. So I went over to Blue Cross. That was supposed to be a project. This project was going to end with AIG after a while. So I said, well, let me just go over here to, go back to Blue Cross. I was there literally 3 days. The second day, the first day, the folks was talking to us so crazy, whatever the case may be. I seen the dude. I think I told y'all the story about the white guy that wasn't one of the senior system engineers. He almost threw a keyboard at somebody. He be snapping, gets japping out on all kinds of folks at Blue Cross. He liked me though. He bought me lunch. So when he seen me, he said, welcome back. But I wasn't in their group. They threw me down in the basement somewhere. I'm like, ain't I supposed to be on the help desk, the 365 team? Because I want to learn 365 and supporting that. They didn't want me on that team. They wanted me doing something else, and they didn't really want to train you to do it at all. So I started making, calls. I'm talking to the recruiters like, what's going on with this project? So the second day, Blue Cross has like a lot of little offices where you kind of duck off and stuff like that. So I was trying to make moves or whatever. Man, I called the recruiter back at over here at AIG. I called them back like, hey man, They playing around. The PM was like, because they didn't want me to leave anyway. They really didn't want me to leave. I worked with Dell really good. So what ended up happening, man, is hopefully the audio is good compared to the other day, y'all. But what ended up happening was I talked to the PM that I worked with, one of the PMs that I worked with, and I said, man, they on some BS over here. And so she said, well, man, let's see if we get you back in there. So they called one of the Dell PMs and they said, we got a guy that left and wants to come back. And they're like, who is it? They said, can we do him a solid? And they said, who is it? They said, oh, it's Darren. Oh, they said, oh man, get him. So they had to kind of rehire me and go through the background check. It took maybe like a week or so. They just told me, just show up next week and we'll figure it out. So I went back in there, got right back into the project. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was at Blue Cross for 3 days and they was playing games. They had me right back over there at AIG the next week. They said, just show up Monday, man. You know, I think I still had a badge or something. I don't know. So they're like, who else you got? Because my homie that I left over there, he was doing okay, but he wasn't configuring some stuff right over there or whatever. So, you know, the on-site guys, their job is to do a little bit of break fix. They're not supposed to be taking on the helm of the Windows deployment. So he wasn't doing the greatest. So it was just him over there. So when they came to see me, they're like, oh man, he's back. Okay, he's gonna get it back. Because I'm telling you, I had that project rolling. I had that project on its heels. I wasn't missing a beat. And like I say, I had gotten to the point where I had some of the executives actually fly in because they didn't like calling in talking to India about their RSA token codes and stuff like that for their VPN. There was a language barrier. Put you a Friedman up in there. We'll get it together. Put you a foundational up in there. We'll get it together. And that's what the brother from Dallas, that's what he was doing. When he trained me in, he was in there maybe a week or two, and then he left it in my hands and it was running peachy clean. So, but anyway, so my other guy that was there, he wasn't doing the greatest, but he was, you know, people liked him there. He got a call about an SCCM position in Eden Prairie, and he's like, man, DP, I don't really want to leave or whatever. I said, man, get up out of here. I said, you think I'm going to try to block your shine? You going to be making $10, $15 and doing an SCCM administrator? He like break fix work. It was a lot more administrative stuff, like while I was over at Travelers, looking at the SCCM policy retrievals and things of that nature. He didn't like that at all. I would love working with spreadsheets and doing the stuff I was doing at AIG. He didn't like it. He went over there though. He was there for a while, but he was concerned about leaving me out of the. I said, man, get up out of here, man. I got this. So they said, do you got another dude? So I brought in Brother Elmi. Brother Elmi was on the platform. He showed y'all how to get into the data center. He got his Cisco certification. He was talking about telecom. If you look at some of our old episodes, matter of fact, I'm going to plug this episode to the end of that when I talk to Brother Elmi and stuff. He's over there at data center downtown. I got him up in there. That was my first time. I met him through Cyber International. That's my homie. I'll do a story about Cyber International. Cyber International was, we had met at our first internship. So I said, you know, send a brother over here. So he sent him over there. I got him in there. B.A. Bob, the first day, was tripping on his shoes. There was nothing wrong with his shoes. He had business casual shoes. So what it was is me and B.A. Bob had got into it. He was like a software engineer. He had nothing to do with the project, but he wanted to bully. You know, a lot of these people, they be at these companies 15, 20 years. They don't got nothing to do. So he wants to try to oversee what we got going on, but he's the contact. So I'm telling the Dell PM, what's up with this dude? He said, man, he's customers. So me and him kind of got into it one time. He was talking crazy to me, and he was, you know, whatever he was doing. But my results and my metrics were so good. We got off on a bad foot. We kind of got off on a bad foot a little bit. And eventually he kind of came and he did his little lightweight, little quasi race soldier apology. You're doing good, Derek. I'm very impressed. This is. But at first, what he tried to do is he tried to step on my team's shoes. He literally, hey man, those shoes aren't business casual. And I didn't have no business casual shoes. I had not a t-shirt, but I had a polo and some. Mine were like the black Reeboks or something. Or I had some fucking Jordans. I don't know what I was wearing. I wasn't wearing nothing that was necessarily supposed to be business casual. But he wanted to pick on. He wanted to pick on my homie. You know what I'm saying? I think he wanted to pick on him. And he came in there and he was doing the project, good. And around that time my mom had passed and he helped me with that. So he's sitting up there listening to Sketches of Spain and all this alternative rock that this other white guy's playing. And it was just a beautiful thing for me. I literally had creative control to hire all my friends. All I had to do was just give the word. And these were all pretty good guys and stuff. But like I say, one he couldn't pass the drug test, man. So like I say, what we would do, man, this is my first time like just going into like we was going to Wild Wings and stuff. And I remember one time, I guess they say I was approved. And they're like, okay, hey, we all amongst men. We go order a beer. And I'm like, and the PMs and the folks, they kind of got a lightweight offended, like, man, order a damn beer. You know what I'm saying? See, they from Texas, so then maybe things are a little different. But they're like, man, order a beer. I'm thinking about being on work with, man, order a beer. We're going to have a brew. So I ordered me a Blue Moon. That's when I started getting on the Blue Moons. And I'd have me my spicy buffalo hot wings with the celery. And then I'd have my carrots. And that'd be the thing. And then, when I had my guy there that went to the SCCM and Eden Prairie position, we start going over there. In Oakdale, they got a couple little restaurants right on the edge of Woodbury, right off of just right, 694 is over there, 94. You can go to the Olive Garden and we would just get the unlimited soup and salad. I would get the chili and then the breadsticks and that salad for like $5 unlimited. We would go and get that. Nobody was really bothering us about our deployments. We could kind of come and go. I didn't abuse it, but around that time, before I was married, my wife lived in Oakdale. I lived in Minneapolis, but I was out in Oakdale so much that most of the time I would just come from there, during the week, so I'd have my apartment. I didn't always go to my apartment, but I always had one. So I just hang out with her and I just get up and go to work from there. Literally, I could literally just drive. I would have actually wanted to have a position there. But it was easier for them to contract. It's easier for them to contract, so, but I kind of got to know people from around there, like all of the little, customer service people that work there and that whole little area, and I thought that was kind of cool. Actually, I could present the resume as we go. That's what I think is dope about this. I was going to make another video about the resume, but I'm going to share my screen where I could share it. And I'll kind of go through. I'm going to go through the resume in entirety for the AIG. So let me get that up on the screen. Let me get that up on the screen. So just this screen. And I don't think do I need to share the tab audio, it says. I shouldn't need any audio, but I'm just going to share it anyway. So let me see where it shows. All right, so we're going a little longer than I thought. So look, when I was there, remember, I was at TCS and then I ended up over here at AIG. So I was the single point of contact for all Oakdale and New York, because what they would do is they'd have these solid state drives. And like I say this in every interview. I always talk about how like the customers, They didn't want to migrate from Windows XP to 7 because they just weren't used to it. It's an adoption issue. But what I did was, they'd have these nice shiny new Dell laptops, and some of the, a lot of people would always complain about having these old laptops because they use the McAfee endpoint encryption software. So I did some stuff with that too. And what ended up happening, man, is all the people that refused to migrate, I put their name on the back of the list. That's what I was told. I said, you have creative reign on how you want to do stuff. So what I would do is some people would be like, oh, I want a new laptop or whatever. I said, well, you kind of missed your day. You refused. There was people that was locking their laptops up in their cubicles and taking PTO because they didn't want to move from XP to 7. So, I would configure the Outlook archives. I would be using, I will be working with the VPNs. They have these executives and they'd come in. And like I say, what I did is I set up a conference room and I kept the board open. The deployments, like I say, I didn't really have to do a lot of deployments just myself. I would just manage the deployments. I didn't have to do that. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I kind of enjoyed that. That's why I was kind of interested in this new bank position. And I said, well, let me see what they're talking about. So I was working with the packaging engineers to determine error logs. I would remote in with BombGuard. Once we shipped the laptops to New York, they get their laptop. We set up a time, and then what we would do is we would move. A lot of times, what we would do, we take the new laptop and plug it in to the network, and take a network share and just move all their PST files and all of their stuff and just move it over to their new laptop. So I'm on the phone with this person, and I log into BombGuard. In New York. In New York, they weren't like Oakdale. Oakdale was slow. Now, remember I told y'all in my second book, where is the book? Well, you guys know about the second book. My second book, there was a guy that made comments about people in the South being like slow and behind. Nobody was slower than the Minnesota team. Every other state was much faster and brighter. Sorry to say that. Gotta let it be known in context, because he made a comment about, he said, well, everything gets slower below the Mason-Dixon line. And so I told him, I said, well, I got cousins that are engineers and doctors and stuff like that are in the South to this day. Now, this is a customer service agent saying this. The dude was in his 50s. Do you hear what I'm saying? The dude was in his 50s saying this. Ain't got no engineering degree, no doctor degree, don't got nothing tangible like it. Talking about who's slow. Everyone below the Mason-Dixon line is slow. No, sir. A lot of people in my family and my ancestors that built this country for what it is are not slow, sir. There's a lot of inventions that was made by Black Americans below that Mason-Dixon line. So we're not going to go there. So he was wording it in code as if he was talking about everybody below the Mason-Dixon line. But no, people ain't slow. They just up to speed to let you know that ain't how it go. Shout out to Scarface. He said the people ain't slow. You heard what Nas said, these people ain't slow. They cool, but they crazy. No, ain't nobody. This is, you always have some trailer trash Bob that he can't really do anything. So he's basically just white and present. And, he's got something to say about somebody being slow. Black folks are slow or whatever. Dude, you're a customer service agent at the age of 50 in Oakdale, Minnesota. You are slow. So yeah, he was. I was loading a printer, and he just pulled up on me talking about that garbage or whatever. The folks in New York were much faster. They wanted their laptops. People in Minnesota were making excuses because they were slow to adopt. So who's slow? You see what I'm saying? So the New York, once it became a depot, the BA Bob dude had his hands completely off of it. He was a little upset because he was trying to figure out a way to kind of bully his way in. And the sysadmin guy that made the made the package, that worked with the packaging engineers to make the good image. He was like, yeah, I'm not really too happy about this dude. He keeps trying to, you know, he keeps trying to, I don't know. He was a big dude. He looked like Lex Luger with like a, he looked like Lex Luger without the hair, but a little shorter. He had that Lex Luger, you know what I'm saying, that Lex Luger build and, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, he, towards, like I said, towards later and towards the end of the project, he was, you know, he didn't really like me, but he respected me. He was one of them heavy right-wing redneck kind of dudes too. He didn't really care for me, but he respected me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he respected me. Like, he would start doing stuff. It was just random because I didn't really know how to take it. He would do some stuff where, you know, like if I had to use it or didn't want to migrate, you know, before he would be like, oh, you got to get this done in 3-4 and all that, and how many he wanted done. And, you know, I wasn't supposed to mention it at the time, but like during a meeting, they were talking about how, like, well, you know, we want them to get 4 or 5 machines done a day or whatever the case may be. At first, we were supposed to get like 2, but I'm smart enough to know the faster I get this done, because there was no talks of a depot. We was just gonna, you know, you migrate Oakdale and then you're done, and now you out of a job. They didn't want me to mention that, and I mentioned it. I said, you know, I got to start looking for something else. If this is what y'all, you know, this is supposed to be a 6 month to a year deal. And if y'all talking about, you know, knocking it down in 90 days or whatever like that, now I gotta be out. See, y'all are straight, because y'all can just sit around here and be mediocre and get retired up out of here. And, you know, I'm trying to get a bag. So the Dell team told us, you know, don't mention that again. Just come to us, whatever. But I know how this stuff goes. They will say anything. Oh, it's gonna be contract to hire. Oh, it's gonna be. They don't care as long as they're supporting the client. So I was trying to dial back a little bit. So it gave me a little bit of room when Mr. My brother, they got rid of him. That gave me a little space to slow the project down a little bit. And then they had some application projects where the projects weren't being certified or whatnot. They had to wait for the application to be certified. So that put, you know, he was coming around in at first like, oh, let's see what we can have these contractors do. And so I just started doing a compilation of the application documentation, working with the whole project lifecycle. I started working with some of the software engineers and sitting in meetings with them and kind of picking their brains. All I had to do was just kind of sit there, you know what I'm saying? So the PMs like me, you know, everybody kind of like me. They like how I get things done. I wasn't argumentative about things or whatever, all except for that one time when he basically tried to, you know, gung-ho the project. But when it became a depot for New York, he was completely off of the project. So every now and then he would just kind of come in here and there. He'll speak and he'll say hello. But no, there was a one time, I'll tell you what he did was, it was some people that was giving me trouble. He said, don't migrate them. F them. He said, Derek, if you have any issues with these people, you can tell them to go F themselves. He said, send them to me. I'll straighten them out. And I said, okay, well, I get to use Mr. B.A. Bob. He turned from race soldier to ally. I don't know where that came from, because he could have kept that same energy the whole time. He could have been giving me living hell. But I think after a while, here's the misconception that black folks don't understand when you get in the corporate environment. You think that if you tap dance or tiptoe enough and you don't never stand up for yourself, that's going to get you further. Not true. Once they see that you're a Sambo or what I call a diversity inclusion Negro mascot that will just accept anything just because you want to be in that corporate realm, rather than just not being the most liked. And yeah, you might miss out on a couple promotions. Race soldiers do not respect Sambos and coons and sellouts. They don't. They will use you, of course. Absolutely, they'll use you. They'll play it off. They don't respect you. They do not respect you, ma'am or sir. They don't. So I had, you know, I had some thoughts like, okay, well, me and him having these words during this meeting or whatever the case may be. But he, like I say, he was raising his voice and he was talking crazy and stuff like that. And, you know, and then he kept talking about, we're talking in circles. And I stood up and I said, well, sir, we're not talking in circles. I said that, we're asking for clarity. He didn't like that at first, but then he, like I say, he started to respect me. I didn't say he liked me, but he started to respect me. So later on down the line, when I started having problems with the end users there locally, he started getting on their ass. Came back and not necessarily bent the knee, but kind of show respect. Hey man, you doing a damn good job up in here. These other folks we had could see a lot of times when you're doing those migrations, they get rid of people a lot. They weasel them out. You'll get somebody there that'll get there for 5 minutes and be doing a horrible job, and they won't tell you that they got rid of people before. That's why the project be so janky sometimes. My first Windows 7 migration, it was through Robert Half through a manufacturing company called Minco Products. That was the BA Bob. That was not my first BA Bob. That was my second. No, the first dude I met was a Trailer Trash Bob. First dude I met on my first kind of migration or deployment contract. That was 2008 to December, August 2008 to December 2008. I was dealing with a telecom Trailer Trash Bob. My next Bob was a BA Bob. BA Bob was the one that when I was at a manufacturing site, I migrated them. And that was the first BA Bob I ran into. So this one when I was at Dell, he turned from BA Bob to I'm gonna help this Negro out Bob at the end. And we never had any meetings together, besides the ones that needed to happen and whatnot. He wasn't tripping. He wasn't tripping towards the end. So when I worked with New York, I'm going a lot longer than I was supposed to. Y'all, this is 36 minutes. Anyway, when I worked with New York, I'm telling you, New York was they were basically like, hurry up. Just rude. I don't think they were trying to be rude, but that's just how they just rude. Like, hurry up. Where is my effing computer? Like, that's how they were talking. They were talking like, man, let me get this shit done. While everybody else is trying to, pedal foot around in Minnesota, they wanted they computer. They couldn't wait to get their computers. So I would ship the computers out. I print out the packaging from UPS or whatnot, and I'd have to know what the business unit is so you could bill it to the business unit, and I printed it out, and I probably and I just bring it to the mailroom, and I probably ship maybe 2 computers a day or whatever. But I got like I say, that was the extent of my project. There's really, even if you would have had PTO or something like that, there would have been absolutely no reason to call off. I literally sat there and deployed the computers, didn't really do much break fix stuff. I was done. Every now and then there might be a computer that I got to deploy locally in Oakdale, but I don't got to deal with no break fix. Any questions or any help desk, I'll call the help desk. And once I deployed the computer, shipped it off to New York, I'm just chilling for the rest of the day. There was times where they would just let us leave early. Oh man, it's 2 o'clock, ain't nothing going on. 8 hours, eight, because that's what the client was billing for. The work was done. So those were cool little projects like that. And some of those projects, like you might be able to get something like that at TCS. This was through a different company. Dell had this project, But like I say, a lot of times, getting back to when I was talking about my first Windows 7 project, might as well just go into that right here. My first Windows 7 project, it was dealing with a lot of ERP stuff. That was March 2012 to July 2012. Once I got that project so ahead that they used to let me interview. You see what I'm saying? They used to let me interview, man. Because it was 2 weeks. They were going to cut the project early They were going to cut the project in like June or something like that, and they kept me on the project. That was through Robert Half. So basically, what I would do is I built Windows 7 images, some XP images. They were using ZenWorks, and yeah, I used Linux to deploy some of that stuff. And then I did installation of ERP. It was my first mobile phone migration. I coordinated all the company-wide projects. Some of the people were using what's that project? It's a lot of engineers use it for drafting or something like that. So I got real good with the engineers, the drafting engineers, and I got in real good with like the CEO of the company. The BA Bob that was there, he was trying to undermine me because a lot of the white women liked me down there. They were kind of choosing real heavy. I wasn't interested, of course, but there was some major choosing. He didn't like that. So I'm talking to, but I had the buffer. The CEO liked me a lot. So basically he told me, man, if anybody's giving you any problems, he didn't say the guy by name, but I noticed once the CEO got involved, I mean, I really, the director of IT said, man, we don't know what we would do without you. I said, well, what happened? They said, well, man, the first guy, they said, we had a guy from Robert Half here a week. We didn't know if you were going to last. I said, what do you mean? Well, he was here 2-3 days, or he was here like a week. He said, you did what he did in a week. You got it done in a day and a half. So I called Robert Half and I said, okay, so y'all wasn't planning on, you was just testing me out. They weren't sure where they're going to keep me because they didn't really know how it was going to go. But they had a guy there, and because when I came there, I see some laptops and desktops just sitting there, and I don't know what the hell the dude was doing. The dude was just, I don't know what he was doing, but you could see 4 or 5 desktops just sitting there not being done. And once I got the process done in like 3-4 hours, so they're like, hey, you kind of saved the project. You made the project run, and I was way ahead. So like a lot of times, sometimes I might have just nothing to image or nothing. I just sit there and I said, what should I do? I said, just watch YouTube. So that's what I do. I sit there and just watch you. I had like a little room to myself while I'm imaging. I'm telling you, I had them going good. Then eventually after that, I went over to, after 2012, I had a gap. I was probably doing some other migration projects, but I don't know what's going on. But then I went over to the Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'll do another story on that. But how do I remove this? Take it from the stage. I'll do another story on that, y'all. I didn't want it to be this long, but that was the turning point of my career. Once I got that deployment lead position, that team lead position is what opened the door for me to get the money I wanted, and then it gave me my bragging rights for what I was able to do. So I'll upload this right away, y'all. Y'all take care. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.